Hi, and welcome to the Access Direct Opening Bell, your essential pre-market podcast. In just minutes, get key global updates, overnight trends, and market-moving factors that set the tone for the day. Whether you're a seasoned trader or just someone tracking the markets, this is your go-to briefing to stay ahead at all times. So let's dive straight in. Good morning on a Friday, and we will start with US equities, which fell yesterday, erasing earlier gains. The S&P 500 ended 0.1% down, while the Nasdaq 100 rose 0.3%. Meanwhile, data showed that the labor market was weakening, and that makes the probability of a Fed rate cut in September increasingly likely. Coming to the markets, the VIX dropped 1.2%. The dollar index rose for the first time in 5 days, while the US 10-year Treasury yield gained for a third day to close at 4.25%. In commodities, gold closed 0.8% higher at around $3,400 an ounce on continually evolving tariff-related news, while Brent fell to $66 a barrel and headed for its first weekly loss since June as traders bet on hopes that supplies will remain elevated. At home, the rupee ended flat at 87.71 despite Trump announcing an additional 25% tariff on India. This happened as investors bet that some sort of a trade deal will be struck within the 3-week period for these duties to become effective. Speaking stocks, in the Nifty closed out a seesawing session 21 points higher at 24,596. Volatility was high as the benchmark swung from 230 points down to end in the green. The India VIX fell 2.3%. Mid-caps and small caps rose and did better than the Nifty. 10 of the 12 NSE sectors gained, with media and IT rising 1% and 0.9% respectively. Energy stocks slipped the most, with the sector falling 0.2%. Hero Motors was the best performer on the Nifty as it rose 4.2%, while Adani Enterprises was the worst as it dropped 2.2%. Technically speaking, yesterday's dip into the 12th May gap area, followed by an intraday bullish reversal, is how one would expect such gaps to resolve. So we need to see if today's close exceeds 24,634. Should it happen, it will be near-term bullish with a first target in the 24,712 to 24,774 area. Meanwhile, provisional data showed that foreigners withdrew around 5,000 crores yesterday for a second straight day. The month-to-date outflow is nearly 16,000 crores now. On to derivatives, and the Nifty's put-call ratio went from 0.74 to 0.92, while the Bank Nifties went to 0.84 from 0.82. Nifty puts added were significantly more than the addition seen in calls, and implied volatility fell 70 basis points, which means people stayed optimistic. For options set to expire on 14th August, resistance sits in the 24,600 to 700 area, while support extends from 24,400 to 500. Elsewhere, 1% out of the money put volatility fell more than similar distance call volatility, and that means that volatility traders flipped to bullish. Speaking net index options activity, foreigners and proprietary traders turned bullish, while retail investors went bearish. Elsewhere, foreigners' net short positioning in index futures rose by 6,000 contracts to 173,000 contracts. Looking forward to the day, the GIFT Nifty opened 60 points in the red. Asian markets were largely up, led by Japan, along with US index futures, which were up around 0.3%. Coming to individual stocks, Aadhar Housing, Angel One, and NetWeb were at horizontal support, while NBCC was at horizontal resistance. Biocon, Emcure, and Cipla were at trendline support, while Poonawalla FinCorp and BLS were at trendline resistance. Talking market breadth, 31%, 54%, and 53% of stocks in the NSE 500 were above their 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages. That is a wrap on the day's podcast. Please note that this podcast serves solely for informational purposes and should not be considered financial advice of any kind. For a comprehensive disclaimer, please visit our website. Thank you, and we will see you on Monday at the same hour. Have a fruitful weekend.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.